Hi everyone, Hotbox here. Wanted to show a Case 1 carrier landing in the A4. So here we are on the catapult of the Stennis. We've got our flaps to half, 4 units of back trim. And once we see a positive rate of climb, we bring up the gear and bring up the flaps. And now we're just going to fly to the starboard of the ship here along its right hand side and enter the initial, so just climbing to between 800 and 1,000 feet and just doing a lazy turn to get 3 to 5 miles behind the Stennis. This is just to save time from doing the full Marshall pattern or to doing something like just declaring an emergency landing and landing straight in. At this point, I'm using the / key to talk to the Airboss script that's a part of Moose. That's a fabulous script for doing carrier operations. So at some point I will tell the Airboss script that I'm doing a Case 1 approach. So the next step after that is to hit the initial point. The initial is 3 nautical miles directly astern the boat. So all I'm doing is just flying a simple circuit pattern to get to the initial point. The reason to do this is that I want Airboss to know that I'm in the pattern so that it grades me and generates a trap sheet. So as I'm doing this turn here, it's all heads out of the cockpit VFR flying. You know, get a sight picture on your HUD there, or the targeting pod, or whatever the target thing is. I set it to 80 mils down and lower the brightness, but I keep it on. I like it as a visual reference, and I'll scan down to my VSI there, one of the lower instruments, all the time. Check what my descent rate is. Just trying to keep anywhere from 800 to 1,000 feet and get 3 nautical miles behind the boat. I've got the TACAN on, 74 X-ray, so I know the distance to the boat. At this point, I'm just trying to get on to the BRC heading 263, and in my head, I'll kind of start figuring out what the reciprocals are. So I do a little mental math and go, okay, my downwind is going to be 0.83, and that means at the 90 I should be at, I think, oh boy, I'm getting lost here. I can't do that. But you know, I kind of start doing stuff like that. Make sure my hook's down. Make sure the APC's been warming up. So I turn on the APC. I'm going to fly the whole pattern with the approach power compensator on. And as we fly over the boat here, I'm just making sure that Airboss has called me initial. So I'm just flying along beside the boat, 800 to 1,000 feet. It's really easy to lose speed in your brake turn. So the brake turn, I like to put out the full speed brakes first, let the speed brakes get deployed, go throttle to idle, and just keep it level in that turn. And based on my altitude, it's easy to drop a few hundred feet here or gain some feet. I'm looking to be at around 600 feet on the downwind. At this point, though, I'm planning to put my APC on. So in order, I've got the throttle at idle, and soon I've got to bring the throttle back up. There's the throttle coming up. And I'm going to get over 70% throttle and enable the APC. And now the APC light is off, and I check the engine instruments there. I can see the dial moving. I know the APC is enabled, and now for the rest of the pattern, until my wheels hit the carrier deck, I'm not going to touch the throttle. At this point, I'm just trying to get on speed, dirtied up, so the gear have come down at 200, the flaps come down to full at 180, 170. The speed brake remains out the entire time, and it's a very VFR head out of the cockpit final base turn. I think a lot of people in the Hornet get fixated on they've got the ILS needles, they've got their TACAN and their distance, and they almost fly a Case 1 pattern as an instrument approach, following all the instruments. And in the A4, it's very much a head out of the cockpit, get a sight picture. So at this point, I'm using the horizon referenced against the canopy there as my sight picture, and I'm just keeping that steady, and I'm drawing a plane, like a sheet of the glide slope from my nose down through the carrier deck. And what I'm trying to visualize is how I'm going to bring that nose straight across to the carrier. And at this point, you know, hands completely off the throttle, you're just using the stick and the trim to kind of micromanage where your nose is pointing so that you can let the auto throttle, the APC, just get you on speed. Yeah, so at this point I'm already spotting the deck and looking for that meatball. I remember seeing the ball, seeing that I was a little low, so I give it a little bit of back pressure, and yeah, I'm lined up outside here. I'm lined up left right from the start, but still a salvageable pass. The important thing is to stay, yeah, you can see how lined up left I am, but I had a good meatball there. Then as I'm coming in, it's a ball lineup AOA, ball lineup AOA. Just doing a really quick scan, putting the sight in the crotch, trying to line up for center line, and I land a little bit left of center. Anyway, that was kind of what's going on in your mind. You could hear it just when you touch down, the APC click off, and you should, out of habit, take the speed brake off and go throttle to full because the APC disabled. And here's the plot of the trap sheet that we get out of Airboss. On the top, we've got the glide slope. In the middle, we've got the lineup. On the bottom, we've got the angle of attack. The goal is to use these charts to try to always fly a good pass. A good pass means you're on the glide slope, you're lined up on the center line, and your angle of attack is as steady as possible and on speed throughout the entire approach, and that you're starting your lineup on final at the 3/4 of a mile mark. You're not too close and you're not too far behind the boat, causing problems in the pattern for other jets. So every trap that we do on our servers gets a plot of these generated, and we really use it to try to analyze our carrier landings and improve. Here I can see that as I'm coming in from the 90, I'm a little bit low. So I was adding some back pressure just to bring my nose up. Remember, I'm not controlling the throttle in the A4. I'm using the APC. So you're bringing the nose up just to gain a little bit of lift, and the APC is going to compensate. I have a problem in the A4. I'm always lining up on the center graph. I'm always shooting out to the outside, so I'm lined up right. Just a problem I'm working on. You know, I need to steepen up that bank and just commit to it. I find the sight picture fairly hard in the A4. You've got those canopy braces that really hide the boat when you're coming in at around the 45, just when you're trying to sweeten up that lineup. And then the AOA chart is always challenging in the A4 because you're changing the AOA, right? You're always changing the nose position. So it's not like the Hornet where you expect the AOA to be almost rock steady with no movement. You kind of expect some movement in the A4 because it would be like plotting the throttle position in the F-18 and saying, we expect you to hold a constant throttle position the whole landing. So anyway, that's what we get out of Airboss, and we really use it to improve our carrier landings. Up at the top, it's got the call sign, the points. Points range from 0 to 5. A 2-point no grade is in the A4 a very decent grade. And then you've got the grade string here. I'm fast, lined up right at the start, fast, lined up right in the middle, fast and high, lined up right in close, and then I'm high and lined up left at the ramp. So you see how I went from lined up right to lined up left? It means I crossed the center line, so I overcorrected my lineup, and then I had to drift back to the center line, and I got a little bit high. And so I got a little bit high and had to push the nose down. Anyway, there it was, August 28, 2020.